In the same manner, the government reaffirms that the right to assemble, demonstrate, picket, and present petitions is a fundamental democratic freedom guaranteed under Article 37 of the Constitution, which states, every person has the right, peaceably and unarmed, to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. While protests are an essential aspect of democracy, some recent demonstrations have been marred by violence, loss of life and property, damage to a very great extent. This is criminal under our criminal law. And it is often due to criminal elements infiltrating peaceful gatherings. Such violence harms citizens, families, and businesses, thereby weakening our democracy. Police brutality is unacceptable. And let me insist, police brutality is unacceptable. However, attacking police officers is equally intolerable. Rights come with limitations. Article 24 of the Constitution guarantees every person the right to freedom and security of the person, including protection from any form of violence from public or private sources. The Constitution further limits those rights. Rights can be limited by law. And that is why Article 24, read together with Section 82 of the Penal Code, makes it an offense for any person to unlawfully assault, resist, oppose, threaten, or use violence against anyone lawfully charged with a public duty while executing that duty. And where 2 or 3 people are already assembling peacefully, but they start becoming violent, then the police have the right to declare that a riot and to order those people to leave. Failure to which he can take action and, he will not be held liable. That is the delicate balance between freedom of assembly, freedom of movement, and also the right to, to peaceful coexistence and everyone also move, because you cannot say that because you are rioting, others should not do their work. These provisions empower the police to maintain law and order. And the question that we want to ask to all of us here as a nation, why commemorate lives lost by endangering others, destroying property, and seeking political gain? Why use solemn occasions to incite unrest and division while upholding the right to peaceful protest? The government urges that we should have a clear distinction between peaceful demonstrations and violent actors, ensuring constitutional rights are respected and not exploited for political gain. Additionally, the government clarifies that 25th of June is not a public holiday and will remain a working day. Citizens are urged to move forward and work that day constructively to build our economy, leaving unrest behind and uniting in fostering peace and national cohesion. Recent protests have resulted in losses of life and property, and we stand in solidarity with those whose lives were lost. The estimate by KRA was that we lost 6 billion shillings. The estimate by KRA was that we lost 6 billion shillings. And it's even more. That's just a very conservative estimate. Therefore, call for further protests risk driving the country into further economic crisis, severely harming the very youth that those who are calling them purport to represent. The government unequivocally condemns such actions, and politicians are hereby warned to desist from exploiting demonstrations to inflame passions by making very wild allegations and declarations for political gains, and we've seen that already. All citizens must uphold peace, respect the rule of law, and prioritize the safety and security of all Kenyans. The government reaffirms its commitment to justice and social protection through a compensation framework for human rights violation victims, including those affected by protests from the 2017 to 2026. Compensation for protests will begin soon, as will be directed by the head of state His Excellency President William Ruto, the head of state and head of government. This demonstrates a timely, fair, and transparent response to past hardships. This program is called Uwiano. It's about restorative justice, not retribution. And that is the true essence of Ubuntu. Our African legal and judicial system is restorative. It's not retributive, because we are a community. We are not an atomic society. That is something that we need to appreciate. It does not take away culpability or liability. Guided by the Presidential Proclamation number 1 of 2026 and the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Reparation Guidelines, and backed by Kenya shillings 2 billion parliamentary allocation, the government is committed to upholding citizens' dignity and rights. So far, 1,815 claims have been received by the KNCHR and 1,022 by IPOA and others by the Interior Ministry, with 1,101 victims verified and approved for compensation. In fact, this number has since gone up to about 1,500. All victims' information is handled with the utmost confidentiality under the Data Protection Act 2019, with public disclosures made only with explicit consent, demonstrating the government's respect for privacy and dignity. The government affirms that this voluntary ex gratia program is a gesture for reconciliation and restoration and does not imply legal liability or a vitiating factor for that matter. It does not even affect ongoing investigations or prosecution of those responsible for human rights violations. Victims are encouraged to submit claims orally or in writing via email info@victimscompensation.go.ke. Let me repeat. You can do it in an oral manner or in writing via email info@victimscompensation, one word, .go.ke. info@victimscompensation.go.ke, or through partner agencies such as KNCHR and IPOA. The physical offices for in-person claims will also be announced by tomorrow. Further, on the issue of affordable housing, the government has observed recent public claims discouraging Kenyans from purchasing homes under the Affordable Housing Program, AHP, with unfounded claims that investments may be forfeited following a change in government. Nothing can be further from the truth. We want to call out those leaders who are trying to use this to win their political base and support. They are outright liars and naysayers, people who are unpatriotic, who are only doing that for their own selfish gains. These assertions are misleading and must be corrected as follows. Number one, Kenya is a constitutional democracy that guarantees property rights under Article 40. Homes lawfully purchased through the Affordable Housing Program are the permanent property of the owners and remain secure despite any change in government. So the ownership has nothing to do with change of government. While the Affordable Housing Levy is a financing tool, ownership of these homes is protected by law and cannot be revoked by any government. Misinformation suggesting otherwise only causes unnecessary worry amongst rightful home owners. The Affordable Housing Program is governed by the Affordable Housing Act 2024, which implements the constitutional right to adequate housing under Article 43(1)(b). Purchases are formalized through the Bomayango platform, with beneficiaries receiving registered sectional titles under the Sectional Properties Act 2020. So you can actually own a section of a building. That is new. It has not been happening, but now it is actually in law. So you actually have your own title of a building, of a section of a building. And these titles are legally enforceable, transferable, and inheritable, providing secure ownership protected by the law. And this is a practice in many developed economies. And that protection is not dependent on the goodwill of any public official. Property rights apply equally to all Kenyans, and for many, an affordable housing unit is their first asset, representing security and legacy. Undermining these rights contradicts the constitutional guarantee of equality under Article 27 and dignity under Article 28. The government further encourages Kenyans to participate confidently in the affordable housing program, and attempts to discourage participation should be noted as just mere political motivations and grandstanding seeking to exploit the initiatives ahead of the 2027 general elections. The government unequivocally condemns the recent incidents of political intolerance, violence, and goonism occurring in various parts of the country. These unlawful acts not only compromise public order, but also threaten national unity and violate the constitutional rights of citizens to peacefully associate, assemble, and engage in political processes. In response, the government is intensifying efforts to curb such criminality by deploying enhanced security measures, strengthening intelligence operations, and enforcing stricter penalties against those involved in political violence. The government reiterates that no individual, regardless of social status, political affiliation, or public office, is above the law. Perpetration of violence, sponsors of criminal gangs, and those inciting unrest will face swift, decisive, and uncompromising legal action under the full weight of the law. A firm warning is issued to the public against any participation in political violence and goonism. Political competition must be conducted within the bounds of the law. This mutual respect and tolerance for diverse opinion is paramount. The government remains resolute in its commitment to safeguard public safety, uphold rule of law and order, and ensure that all citizens can exercise their constitutional rights free from fear and intimidation.